Okay, so today's opener, the first 3 questions is going to be simplifying square roots. So you first have the square root of 36. Now, when we go to simplify square roots, what's the first thing that I need to do? Every single time, when I go to simplify square roots or add square roots or multiply square roots, what do I always have to do?
Factors.
Factors. So what 2 numbers can I multiply together to get 36?
4 and 9.
So then we're going to go ahead and factor those out.
It's 36. It's 6. It's 6.
Okay, you're all right, Michael. Let's see how we get there, though. So we're going to come up to the right. We're going to put our equal sign in the square root sign. We're going to put our factors in order from least to greatest. So we're going to have 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. From here, I circle my factor pairs. The factor pairs cancel, and they move to the outside into the coefficient position. So what 2 numbers am I going to move to the outside coefficient?
Oh, that's how.
Which equals what number? 6. Now, so because we end up with just a number without a square root behind it, the square root of 36 is a perfect square. So another way that we could have shown this, you don't have to show what I'm doing in the green right now, but another way that we could have done that was put the square root 6 squared and show that the squared and square root cancel to get a 6 as well. So when you guys go to do your test next Thursday, you can show it in either fashion if it's a perfect square. Okay.
Well, what about the spot?
Khan Academy notes. So now we have 3 square root 140. So this time we have a coefficient with our radicand. We're going to ignore that coefficient at first and go ahead and factor our radicand. So what are 2 numbers that I can multiply together to get 140? Say again? 7 and 20? Circle my 7 because it's prime. And then for 20? Okay. When I come up to the right, what do I put after I put my equal sign? No. Yeah, don't forget that coefficient, the 3 square root. Now, what numbers do I put in order from least to greatest? Okay, Daisha, what do I do next? Okay. And then from here, what's the next step I do, Kira? What's that 2 joining on the outside? Okay, so 3 times 2, which you went ahead and did 6, okay? And then what's stuck on the inside? Now, don't forget, this step right here, you guys could really skip and then just write it in simplest form. So what's 3 times 2 again, Kira? What's 3 times 2 again? 6. Square root, what's your radicand? There we go. Good job, bless you. Bless you. So this next problem, the square root of 1 over 50. When I have the square root of 1 over 50, the first thing that I need to do is give each numerator and denominator its own square root sign. So what that's going to look like, I'm going to put my equal sign. I'm going to give the numerator its own square root and the denominator its own square root. From here, I just simplify each square root. Well, what's the square root of 1? 1. So that just goes to 1. Now, the square root of 50 is not a perfect square. So I'm going to have to factor that. So what 2 numbers can I multiply together to get 50? 5 and 10. Okay. For 10?
2, 5.
And then I could drop down under my square root sign. I'm going to put what times what times what? And keep simplifying. So I do what? Circle my pairs. That pair becomes the what?
Denominator?
It will be in just a second. But what happens with this pair that I can't?
Square root.
It becomes the outside, my coefficient. What's my inside, my radicand?
2.
The 2. And then as Michael said, that then becomes our denominator. So the square root of 50 in simplest form is going to be 5 square root 2. And there's your final answer. So you need to fix that. Good job. I like how you went ahead and factored what you knew how to do. So if you are done with the front side, flip it over. While you're waiting on me, if you don't know what to do, go ahead and factor each of your radicans. That way, it doesn't take us quite as long to get through it all. Okay. So this next one is adding square roots. Adding and subtracting, excuse me. So the first thing I do when I add or subtract the square roots is that I first have to simplify each square root. When I go to simplify the square root of 6, do I really need to factor it out? No, because the two factors are going to be 2 and 3. Are those going to have any pairs? No. So 6 I can leave alone. If you go ahead and factor it, that's fine too. It does not matter. So the square root of 150, if I factor those two, what do I end up with? And then for 10?
Wait a second. I said 5 and 30.
Oh, 5 and 10 won't work, will it? 5.
Root is 50.
Woo! There we go. For 30?
3 and 10.
3 and 10? And then for 10?
2 and 5.
Okay, what about for 72?
6 and 12.
6 and 12. Keep going.
6, 2 and 3, 12, 26, 6, 23.
We're all pros at this part now. Now, when I'm adding and subtracting, how many square root signs am I going to write out?
All of them.
All of them. So 3 of them. So I'm going to drop down. I'm going to put my equal sign. I'm going to bring down the square root 6. Bring down my addition sign. Bring down my another square root sign. Now, what are the factors I'm going to put for the square root of 150? Okay, then what do I bring down? The subtraction or negative sign, square root. What goes under this square root?
2 times 2 times 3 times 3.
I think we're missing something.
5.
Nope. 2 times what? 2 times 2 times. We just missed that extra 2.
I ain't do the 6.
There we go. We don't do the 6 because because if you would do the 6, it would be 2 and 3. It has no pairs, so it just go right back to 6. You can do the 6. I just kind of skipped that step. Okay, after we do all that, we go through, we circle our pairs. Then I rewrite each one. So I have the square root of 6 plus the square root of 150 in simplest form is going to be what? So the square root of 150 in simplest form is going to be what? What's my coefficient going to be? What's my coefficient going to be? What number cancels and moves to the outside? My coefficient, 5. What's my radicand going to be? What's going to be my inside number? What's my inside number going to be? Which equals?
6.
There we go. Then I bring down my subtraction sign. The square root of 72 in simplest form. What's my coefficient? What's my outside? 6. And then what's my inside number? My radicand? 2. Oh, I'm not. We're not done. We got to simplify it now. So now that each square root is in simplest form, I need to combine like terms. When I add and subtract square roots, my like terms are based on the what? What do I have to look at to determine if they're like terms?
Inside the little box.
Inside the square root. What's that term for inside the square root called? Radicand. So do I have any like terms here? Yeah, what are they?
You got that 6.
And
You got the other 6.
the plus 5 square root 6.
So you should put a
What is not a like term?
6 2.
Okay, so that's different. Now, we're going to put these in order from least to greatest, right? Based on the radicand. So if I'm going to put these in order from least to greatest, which radicand do I want to start with? The 6 or the 2? The 2. So we're going to put the negative 6, square root 2, because we're done with that, because it's small. So bam, done with that. So now we need to combine the square root of 6 plus 5 square root 6. That's right, Damon. So we're going to put a 1 in the coefficient spot, and then combine your coefficients. How'd you get 6? Tell me what you did.
You put that 1.
Okay.
Because I don't got no number and stuff. And you got to pair them because they got the same radicand. side of the thing. So you put the 1 after that. 5 plus 1.
Good. So you can, good. So 1 plus 5 is positive 6. Square root, what's my radican again?
6.
6. And this here is your final answer.
That's not too much. It's too easy. Yeah.
Okay. And then the last lesson that we learned was multiplying square roots. So that's what we learned last week, multiplying square roots. When we multiply square roots, there are 3 short steps we're going to follow. The first step is multiply together your coefficients. So if I go to multiply together my coefficients, what do I get? My coefficients. There's only 1, so what's my coefficient going to be? Yeah, just straight up 3. Then I factor my radicans. Can I factor the 7? No, it's prime. So I'm going to circle that because I am going to use that number. Then I'm going to factor my next radican, 350. What 2 numbers can I multiply together to get 350?
14 and 25.
Okay.
24 and 24.
Okay. What for 14?
20. Yeah.
And then for 25. Now, with all of these numbers that I have circled, what do I do with them? How many square root signs am I going to use here? 1. For multiplication, you're going to use 1 square root sign. You put all the factors in order from least to greatest under 1 square root sign. So what am I going to have?
2 sevens.
Do I have 2 2s? Nope, I have 2 times what?
5 times 7.
This? Is that all I'm going to write? So I wrote this one, this one, this one, this one. Do I have everything in there?
No.
No, what am I missing?
One on the side.
That other 7.
Yeah, see.
Okay? From there, I simplify as usual. So I go ahead and complete my last step. Simplify as usual. Circle my pairs. Show that my pairs cancel with the square root sign. Those pairs become a single number in the coefficient. What are they joining on the outside there? Nah, that 3 is going to be joined by the 5, as Kaylon just said, and the... What other number joins it? 7. Then what's my radican going to be?
That 2.
So when I go to simplify it out, what's my coefficient going to be?
That's 35 right there. 35.
So 3 times 5 times 7. You guys have the calculators, I don't.
105.
What do you say?
105.
105? Square root what? Square root 2. Box it. Oh yeah, your coefficient can be bigger than your radican. Make sure you get your names on them. Pass them forward.
So, now we done.